Here's a question a lot of people have been asking me recently. How can I encrypt a file or folder so I can send it to someone by email without anyone else being able to read it? Then they often go on to say they need it to work on any computer, whether it's Windows or Mac. The encryption needs to be strong so no one can break into the file. And ideally, they don't want to pay for this, and it needs to be free for the person receiving the file too. Is all this possible? Well, the answer's yes, and I'm going to show you how to do it. This is Dave's Tech Rescue, where I solve your problems with computers, internet and technology. If you have a question, leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss my next video where I might be answering your question. Today's question: how can I encrypt a file or folder so I can send it by email using free software for Windows or Mac? Encryption is a hot topic at the moment. This is partly because the new GDPR regulations are making people take a closer look at the way they secure their data in the workplace. But it's also down to a growing awareness that we need to think more about how we keep our computers secure, and also that we're just storing and sharing more confidential data than we used to. Anyway, there's no shortage of companies that want to sell you a monthly plan so you can send files securely. And while these plans have their benefits, like being able to track when your files have been opened or limit how long they're available for, you might not need all of these features. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take a file, or a single folder containing multiple files, and protect it with a password. This will result in a single file that you can attach to an email, put in your Dropbox, or copy onto a memory stick or a disk. You can then pass this file on to the recipient, who will type in the password and unlock the file's original contents. If anyone else gets hold of the file while it's being sent, they won't be able to break into it because they won't know the password. We're going to do this by installing some free software on your computer, and you'll need to ask the recipient to install some free software on theirs. The most important thing to get right here is the type of encryption. Over the years, the big brains that work on this kind of thing have come up with lots of ingenious ways to encrypt data. But as soon as someone declares a code to be uncrackable, some equally big brains start looking for ways to crack it. Currently, one of the best methods of encryption that's available everywhere, but that no one's managed to break yet, that we know of, is AES 256. If anyone ever needs to review the way you secure your data, if you tell them that you encrypt your files with AES 256 before sending them, they'll be satisfied that you are using strong encryption. So how do we encrypt our files with AES 256? Well, I've got two ways to show you. The main method I'll show you is to make something called a zip file. First though, if you happen to have Microsoft Office 365 or Office 2016, you can already encrypt individual files, provided you created them in Office. Let's open a file in Microsoft Word on my Windows computer. I can encrypt this file by going to File, then Info. Then click on Protect Document and Encrypt with Password. Then all you have to do is think of a password and type it in here. Pay attention to this notice. If you forget the password, there's no way to reset it, so keep a list of your passwords somewhere safe. Click OK and type the password again. And click OK. Now if we close this document and try to open it again, we can only get in if we know the password. You can do the same thing if you have a Mac with Microsoft Office. Open a document in Word, then go to Tools and click on Protect Document. There are a few possible places where you can set a password here, so make sure you're looking in the first box, which is labelled Set a Password to open this document. Think of a password and type it in here, then click OK. Now repeat the password and click OK. We can now close this document, and if we open it again, we can only get in if we know the password. It doesn't matter whether you set up this protection on a Windows computer or a Mac. You can send it to anyone with Windows or Mac and they'll be able to open it on their computer, provided you tell them the password. And you can protect the files you make in the different Office apps, whether it's Word, Excel or PowerPoint. Microsoft have published a web page which confirms that this password protection actually uses AES 256 encryption, and it details which previous versions of Office can open your protected files. The link to this page is available in the description of this video. Before we move on to using zip files, I want to emphasise how important the password is, because you can have the world's strongest padlock, but if you're going to tape the key to it, then anyone could just walk along, take the key and unlock it. For the same reason, if you're emailing someone an encrypted file, you should never send them an email containing the password. You should always get the password to them by some other means, either telling them over the phone or telling them in person. This password needs to be strong. You should use a password with at least 8 characters, but ideally it should be longer. And it's stronger if it contains a mix of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. And one more really important thing, make sure your passwords are unique, because if you're going to give someone a password that gets into the protected file that's just for them, you need to know that password won't get them into protected files you've made for other people. Now, let's look at the most versatile way to send encrypted files, and that's using a zip file. Zip files have been built into Windows and Mac OS for a long time, and they're the perfect way to prepare a file or folder for sending as an attachment. In fact, the original reason for using zip files had nothing to do with encryption. Zip was invented as a way to compress a file, so if you needed to send someone a large document, you could compress it into a much smaller size without losing any of its content. On a Windows computer, you could take a folder containing several documents, then right-click it and send to compressed zip folder. This would make a single file that's easy to attach to an email, and the person who receives it can right-click the file, click Extract All, and the original files are revealed, completely untouched. It doesn't have to be a folder though, you can compress a single file into a zip file. And you can do the same on a Mac. Right-click a file or folder and click Compress to make a zip file. Then to unzip the file, you just double-click the zip file and the original contents are revealed. Now we want to take this facility of making zip files and add in our AES-256 encryption. Unfortunately, this is something that's not built into Windows or Mac, so we're going to need to install some free software. First, I'll show you how to install the software on Windows, and we'll encrypt a file ready to send. Then I'll show you what your recipients need to do at the other end so that they can open your files on their Windows computer. After that, I'll show you what you need to install on a Mac, and we'll encrypt a zip file on the Mac. And finally, we'll look at how your recipients will open your files if they have a Mac. Don't forget, whatever type of computer you have, you'll need to prepare instructions for your recipients for both Windows and Mac, so they can open your files whatever type of computer they have. Okay, so to make an encrypted zip file on a Windows computer, we're going to download a tool called 7-zip. So open your web browser and go to 7-zip.org. The downloads we need are right at the top. We've got a choice of either 32-bit or 64-bit, and I'll show you how to tell which one you need. Right-click on the Start button and select System. This screen appears, and if you look for system type, you'll see 32 or 64-bit. My computer is 64-bit. Let's close this and click on the download for 64-bit. Once that's downloaded, click on Run and click Install. Once it's installed, click Close. Now let's look for something to encrypt. Let's use this file. Right-click on the file and you'll see a 7-zip option that wasn't there before. Go into 7-zip and select Add to Archive. This gives us lots of scary options, but don't worry, we only need to change a couple of things. Check that the file name that's been suggested here looks right. You can change it if you like. Then change the archive format to zip. Then go down to Encryption method and choose AES-256. Now type a password in here and re-enter it below. Finally, click OK, and 7-zip will make a new file next to the original. It looks almost the same, but if we right-click it and go to Properties, you'll see it has this yellow icon with a zip, and the file type is a compressed zip folder. This file is encrypted, so we can send it to someone else if we want. Let's have a look now at encrypting a folder. I've got a folder here containing several files. All we need to do is right click on the folder itself, then go to 7-zip and select Add to Archive, exactly like we did before. Then make sure we're using zip and AES256 and enter a password. Then click OK. This has copied the entire folder into a single encrypted zip file, which we can send to someone if we want. Next, let's look at opening these files at the other end. If you're sending encrypted files to someone, you'll need to give them instructions for how to open the files on their computer. Because we encrypted the files, they'll need to be decrypted before they can be used. First, the recipient is going to need to install 7-zip if they don't have it already. You might need to show them how to download it from the 7-zip website and install it. Once they have 7-zip installed and they've downloaded your zip file to their computer, all they need to do is right-click the file and go to 7-zip. Then they need to choose one of these extract options. I recommend choosing extract to and then the file name. This means everything will be kept within a single folder. Next, they will be prompted to type in the password which you've told them. Once they click OK, the file will be decrypted. They will be left with a folder that contains all your original files, which they can open. It would be nice if I could say download 7-zip for Mac, but unfortunately they don't make a version that works on the Mac. Instead, you're going to need a tool called Keka. So open your web browser and go to keka.io. Click on the download button and wait for it to download. Then open your downloads folder and open Keka. Now you just need to drag Keka into your applications folder. Now close everything that's open and open your Finder. Go into the applications folder and look for Keka. Drag Keka onto your dock. Next, click on Keka. The first time you open Keka, you'll be asked if you're sure you want to open it. Click Open. Then Keka will tell you it needs access to the storage on your Mac. Click on Give Home Access. Then click Give Access to Keka. And now this is the screen you'll normally see when you open Keka. I'm going to close this for a moment. So when you want to make an encrypted zip file, you just need to open Keka first. Click on the Keka icon on the dock. We can leave most of these options as they are. Just make sure you choose zip from the drop-down list at the top and type in a good password here. Then repeat the password. Make sure this box is ticked for Use AES256 encryption. Now you'll need to find the file or folder that you want to encrypt. Drag this onto the Keka icon and Keka will encrypt it with the settings you chose. You will then see a zip file appear next to the original. This zip file is encrypted and you can safely send this to someone now. Next, let's look at opening the zip file on someone else's Mac. If you like, you can show the recipient how to install Keka on their Mac, but if they're only going to be opening the zip files you send them and not making any themselves, there's an easier app to use. It's called the Unarchiver and you can download it for free from the Mac App Store. So we're going to open the App Store and search for Unarchiver. Now I'm going to click on Get and I just need to enter my Apple ID and password. Once the Unarchiver has installed, we're ready to go. I'm going to right click on the zip file, then go to Open With and click on the Unarchiver. Then if I'm happy for its contents to be extracted into this location, I just click Extract. Now I'm prompted to type in the password and click Continue. And there's a new folder containing the files we want to see. I chose to use zip files because they're universally recognised, but there is one small drawback to using zip. Let's have a look at the folder I turned into an encrypted zip file on Windows. Look what happens if I try to double click the zip file. Windows tries to open the zip file rather than letting 7-zip decrypt it. Windows lets us see the files inside without us having to type in the password. Now, the files themselves are still encrypted, so we can't see their contents, but it's worth pointing out that anyone who gets hold of the zip file will be able to see these file names, so try not to put anything confidential in the file names themselves. One way to get around this is to use a different file format instead of zip. You can encrypt your files using the 7-zip format, and you can do this using 7-zip on Windows and Keka on the Mac. In the end, it doesn't matter whether you use the zip format or the 7-zip format, as long as the person at the other end understands how to open the file you've sent. So that's how you can send encrypted files to other people for free using Windows or a Mac. Please let me know in the comments below how you got on, and if this video helped you, please give it the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more tutorials like this from me in future, please hit the red subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.